Welcome back. This is Mr. Hassan's Maths channel. I'm now answering questions from the practice paper of the new IGCSE syllabus for Cambridge. This is the 0580 paper, and this is the non-calculator paper. So this is going to start in 2025. The examination from 2025 will now include a paper for which you are not allowed to take a calculator into the exam hall. So you must learn a new set of skills, how to deal with questions without having a calculator with you. And this is what I'm going to be concentrating on as I'm going through this paper. This is the practice paper. They gave a specimen A and a specimen B, which you can find the playlist for. They also give a practice paper as well. So it's like a few different examples of papers so we can get used to the style, the new type of questions that are going to come up. So I'm going to make a start now. I'm going to go through these questions. I'm not going to go through these questions at the same pace I would do if I'm going to take the exam myself. I'm going to use this as a teaching tool to try to explain to students how to deal with such questions. I might go through some foundations of some topics to make things clear, keeping in mind the common mistakes that I've seen students make, keeping in mind the questions that some of my students have asked me. So it's like a way of me explaining and going through certain topics in some detail. So it's not meant to be like a walkthrough where I'm going to do it in the time that we're required. And I'm going to take each question and I'm going to save it in a separate video. Okay? Even certain questions, part A and part B, might be in separate videos, because I want to classify them according to topic as well as according to the paper itself. Okay, so bear with me there. So first of all, this paper, as we can see, it's a 2-hour paper, no calculator allowed. Okay, some instructions are given here. It's at 100 marks, and you can use tracing paper, for example. Don't use erasable pens, don't use whiteout. Okay, those should not be used. And you must use a black or dark blue pen. And for diagrams, you should use a pencil. Okay, so now, they give you a formula sheet at the start of the paper, which includes some of the formulae which we had to previously memorize in the previous syllabus. Okay, so, the formula for the area of a triangle when we don't have the vertical height, the formula for the cosine rule, for the sine rule, the quadratic formula. These before were given. Cylinders were not given before. Volume of a cylinder wasn't given. The volume of the surface area of a sphere was. This was given. The curved surface area of a cylinder wasn't given before. Neither was the circumference of a circle, or the area of a circle, or the area of a triangle. So there's some formula here. Not all of them. It's not like everything. For example, they don't have trapezium. They don't have certain things. But, a lot of the formulae that we had to memorize before are now given. Okay, now, question number 1. Here we're told to write down the order of rotational symmetry of this diagram. Okay, so here we have a square, basically, which is divided up into a lot of different squares. Some of them are shaded. Now, the order of rotational symmetry is basically the number of times the object fits over its outline, exactly over its outline, including the shaded parts over the shaded parts, in one complete revolution. Okay? So we could imagine if we took this shape and rotated it about its center, how many times would it fit over its outline? If it wasn't shaded, it would be like a square and it would fit 4 times over its outline. But because this shading is here, we have to be a bit more careful. So one of the ways we could tackle this question, to be sure, is if you took a piece of tracing paper, which you're allowed to take at the exam, and supposing this is the bit of tracing paper, I have traced the shape, okay, over the original object on the tracing paper. And I take my tracing paper now and I rotate it around one complete revolution. So when this handle thing ends up back at the top again, we would have gone through one complete revolution, and we see how many times does it look exactly like this in a complete revolution. So we rotate it around its center. Now here it doesn't look like the original shape. Okay, it doesn't look like the original shape because the shading is off a bit. See the shading here? It's now shaded in these other squares. It doesn't look like the original shape. That's through 90 degrees. If you go through 180 degrees, you can see that the shadings fit exactly over each other. Okay, so it looks like the original shape. Okay, it gets to here, it doesn't look like it. That's one time so far. One revolution, that's one time after it's gone through 180 degrees. And then when it comes back again to its original position, of course it will fit over itself then. That's 2 times. Okay, so including the time that it returns back to its original position, it's fit over itself 2 times. So the order of rotational symmetry is equal to 2. Right? So, if it didn't fit over itself, then we could say that it has no rotational symmetry, or the order of rotational symmetry is 1. If something has an order of rotational symmetry of 1, it means it doesn't have rotational symmetry because it only fits over itself after one complete revolution, which would be anything. Okay, so there's the answer to question number 1. So this is to do with symmetry and order of rotational symmetry. As I said, I'm going to save each question in a separate video. Okay, so this is going to go into this is going to go into the playlist. On the top right of the screen, you'll see the playlist for this particular practice paper. You'll also see a playlist on the bottom of the screen here on the bottom right, which will be for questions dealing with symmetry. All symmetry and quadrilateral questions you'll find there from the new syllabus. I'll also put here my material for symmetry from the old syllabus. So you can see very similar kind of questions which will be relevant to you there. And you can subscribe to my channel by clicking on this link at the top. Thank you for watching and see you soon.